Hello guys, welcome to this tutorial, and in this tutorial we'll be talking about HTML guidelines and tips. So before we move on, I would like you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos, and also share our videos to friends and family. Don't forget to comment on our videos, and also remember to follow us on all social media platforms like Facebook by joining our Facebook group, like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, and also join our Telegram channel, and also follow us on Vskit by using our Vskit ID Vicsad_academy. Also follow us on LinkedIn. So today we're going to be talking about HTML guidelines and tips. HTML guidelines and tips. These are like all those simple rules and regulations you need to know so as to become a very good developer and coder in HTML. Because if you don't know it, to be able to edit or read your code later in the future, it will not be easy. If you are working in a project and you've written thousands and thousands of lines, for you to just edit a simple thing will not be easy because you did not follow those guidelines, and your code will become stuffy, and it will not be easy to edit, read, and do some other stuff to it. So as these things not to happen, you need the guidelines and tips that allow those files to be easy to read, easy to edit. So you need to know them, because I'm creating this video so as to make sure you become a very good developer, a very good coder. So guys, the first one we're gonna be talking about is save your file as .html. So I'm talking about save your file as .html, meaning you can also save a file as .htm. You can save it as .html, but it is advisable to save it as .html, because saving it as .htm is not right as a good coder. Even though it is acceptable, it's gonna work. So what we mean by this is, for instance, now let's change it to save as, and then I'm gonna do some other things right now. So all files, and then I'm gonna give it .htm, and then I'm gonna save it. So you're gonna create a new file entirely. So I'm gonna go back there, I'm gonna see the new file. So for instance, I'm gonna look for the properties of this, and you see HTML5.html index. So okay, then I'll come back here to look for properties of this. I'm gonna see .htm. So .html, but we can see that the type of the file is Microsoft Edge HTML document, meaning it's still HTML document. It's just putting the Microsoft Edge there as a result of it being opened by Microsoft. So if I should change my default to this Visual Studio Code, let's try changing it. Okay, so let's give it this. So now you can see that it is index.html. So as a very good coder, it is not advisable for you to do that. So let's just delete that, and then we have this. And then I'm just gonna clear this off and then bring it down by me just dragging it inside of this. So that is the first guideline or tip I want you to know, that you must never save any of your HTML file as .htm, but always save it as .html. So let's move to the next one. The next one is your default file name. You know that in the beginning of this tutorial I said you must save your first file as index.html, but you can save your others as maybe laptop.html, hp.html, or whatever.html you feel like. So now you cannot, your default file, you can only save it as index.html. You can also save it as home.html, default.html. So first thing to know that you can also save them as home.htm, default.htm, but it is never allowed, because I've said it just right now that don't save any of your file, whether it's your contact us file page or your contact us file. Don't ever save it as .htm. Make sure it is .html, not htm. So now back to saving your default, you buy your default file name. Now why do we always make sure the first page or the first page first HTML document you want to be displayed should be HTML.document? Now you're gonna host your website on a server, and when you host them on a server, the link to that website maybe is google.com. It's not gonna be google.com/index.html. So the moment you host your file on the server and you have a domain, and let's say your domain is vicsadacademy.com. So remember that my domain name is not vicsadacademy/index.html or index.html.com. So how will the web server be able to display which page will the web browser with the server display for users that have searched for that domain name? So automatically the server will look for any page that is bearing index.html. Let me come again if you don't understand. I host my website file on the server, and then the name of my domain is my domain name is vicsadacademy.com. Remember that my domain name is not index.html. Remember that my domain name is not html meta.html. It's just vicsadacademy.com. Then when people search for vicsadacademy.com, how will the server, which page will the server display to people that have searched it? Immediately when they search for vicsadacademy.com, the browser will look for a default, will look for any page having those default name like index.html, default.html, home.html. But it is advisable to use index.html because number one, this is the most popular name people use for their default page. So number two, when you use other names except from index.html, it might not be easy for server to quickly know that it is the default page. Meaning most every server, the moment they see index.html in any file they want to display through the domain name, it is easy for them to quickly know it's index.html. So from servers might not be able to know that default.html is the default page that should be displayed. Some servers might not be able to know that it is home.html that should be displayed. But every server knows that it is index.html that should be displayed, and that's why every of your default page that wants to be showed first should be index.html. You can use default.html, home.html, but as a very good coder, as a very good HTML developer, you are not use that, but index.html. So the next one is declaration of document. Before we move on to declaration of document, I think we should first change the name of this file. Let's do a very practical example of what I just said right now. Like I meant what I just said right now by saying in default home and those stuff of a thing. So we'll just come back and choose save as, and then we go back here to all files, and then we change this to home.html. Remember, it will give us the same thing since it's the same thing that is in the content. I just want to make a very practical example of this HTML. So I'm gonna save it. It's a default page because you can use any of those names, but it's advisable for you to use index.html. So guys, let's go there. So guys, I'm there right now. So I'm going to open the home.html, which is having the Visual Studio Code logo. So this is it right now. It's the default page. It's going to show the same thing if you open it on the web browser. I think we should open it on the web browser. So we don't have anything on our page, as you can see. So it's just going to show the normal thing. So guys, I think we don't really need that. Let's delete that for now, and then I'm gonna bring back this to my Visual Studio Code. Yeah, so back to the declaration of documents. Because we are working on HTML5, it is advisable to always declare the kind of version or the kind of or the type of HTML you're working on. You know, we have different type of HTML, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are working on HTML5, and for our web browser to know that it's HTML5, we need to declare it by using this doc.html, and that's why part of the simple document of HTML, we have declaration must be the number one thing. That is doc.html. This is to show that this is HTML5. Now, making use of the HTML head and body elements. I want you to know that those tags must never be omitted. The HTML elements, which has an opening and a closing tag, this is the closing tag, they must never be omitted in a HTML document. The head too must never be omitted, and also the body, and three of them must have both opening and a closing tag. Now uh, without the HTML and the body tags, I mean without the HTML opening and closing tag, without the body opening and closing tag, your HTML file will be validated, because the HTML body tags, when omitted, can produce error in some web browsers, especially old versions of web browser. And when you omit the HTML opening and closing tag, you have problem in the HTML DOM. It will cause a very big problem in the HTML DOM. And when you fail to add the head element, then every other element before the body element will be added to an invisible head tag. So guys, just sorry about that. It was just one of my phone that is ringing. So guys, talking about the so guys, I just had to pause the video like twice right now, because phone rang and then I pick up, voice talking in the video. So guys, never omit the head tag, because when you omit it, yeah, it's not bad, because it's still gonna work. Everything we put here is gonna be displayed in the head, not in the body. And remember that everything that is in the head, apart from the title, opening and closing tag, is not gonna show. So if I should type in anything like maybe my metadata stuff of a thing, those stuffs, it's not going to display in the body, because automatically my web browser believes it is not inside the body tag, so I don't need to display it. But remember, these are the guidelines and the tips and tricks you have to know as a very good developer. So you have to, as a very good developer, you have to make use of your opening and closing head. Yeah. So guys, these are opening and closing head, so you have to make sure you never omit them. Don't omit the HTML both opening and closing tag. Do not omit the HTML body opening and closing tag, and also don't omit the HTML opening and closing head tag. So the next one is the title tag. The title tag should never be omitted, because the title tag is important for web browsers. With the title tag, the web browsers will be able to give your web page or HTML document a title, and that's why I'm going to give you the title right now. So before that, remember that when the page is saved or added to favorites, it is the title that is given to the title tag that will be used to save or add it. For instance, some of you do save web page and HTML document files to your web browser, maybe through your Brahmin or Chrome's. Some of you that love reading some Opera news. So when you save them, the name of that page is what will be used to save on your web browser. And after being saved on that your web browser with that name, you can then amend or change the name if you don't like the name. So that is why you must never omit your title tag, because it is the name the web browser will give to that page. And when they save your page or add it to favorites on their web browsers, meaning your users, it is the title that you put in the title tag that will be used to show it, because it will showcase a title for the web page when displayed on by search engines when searched for. This is to say that when you search when they search for maybe that particular page on search engines, it is the title that will be used to showcase that name. The name you give to the title tag, it is what the search engine will use to showcase that particular page on the search results. So never omit it. So I hope you understand what I mean by the title tag, the works it performs, and stuff like that. So I want to put it there right now. So I made mistake when typing. So I think we should open this with Chrome. So right now you can see that we have my website, but there's not our website right now. So back to our our HTML document at the side of the code editor, inside the code editor. So I've made mention about the title tag, and I said when you search for it on search engines, the name that will be displayed is the name you give to the HTML title tag, HTML title element. Also when people that searched for your website, love your page, and they want to save it to favorite, or save it offline, it is the name of the title tag that we use to save it, and you must never omit it because it is very very important for web browsers. So moving on to the lang attribute, we meaning the language attribute. The first thing to know that the language attribute, which is lang attribute, is inside the opening head tag. Inside the opening HTML tag. Yeah, the lang attribute is here, and the lang attribute will allow you to specify a particular language that your content on that particular web page is written. So those language are not just written as like that particular name. For instance, I'm speaking English and I want to make my lang to be English. I'm not just going to write lang equals to English. It has what we call the iOS language code. So those iOS language codes are like abbreviations for each language. So the iOS language code abbreviation for English is EN, for French is FR, for Espanol is ES. So we also make use of the iOS country codes because these country codes are added to the iOS language codes so as to specify the category. For instance, if I put EN hyphen US, I'm trying to say in English US, meaning United States of American English, like US English. So if I put EN and then I put the one for Britain, the iOS code for Britain, it means that I want British English. Or the content on my web page is written in British English. So right now let's go there. So I'm gonna just put EN and then I'm gonna put hyphen, make this in capital letter US. So right now I'm trying to say that my English is written in American, my content is written in American English. So as a very good coder, a developer who want to be perfect in HTML must never omit this. Okay, I hope you get this right now. And next online to talk about is the lowercase. And when I mean the lowercase, this lowercase of a thing goes a very long way, so we have to go there right now. So when we talk about the lowercase, we need to make sure everything we write in our HTML code should be in lowercase, except for where it's compulsory and except from the content that we really want to display. So when I mean except from where it's compulsory, I mean except from somewhere here in which is the way that should be written, doc type HTML, and except from the content that is written, meaning the normal text that will be inbuilt to be displayed outside, like this text like this, then it does not mean. Then if I have like a p tag, and write it does not mean any case I might use, does not mean. So just pardon me with that, that's just nonsense. So guys, what I mean by this lowercase is, first of all, every of your tags, every of your attributes should be written in lowercase, apart from where it is compulsory, like here. Apart from here, everything, your HTML lowercase. Remember that when I want to write my p tag just that time, it is in capital letter, which is wrong. But remember, it is HTML. HTML is not a case sensitive language, it is a case insensitive language. So even though if my paragraph tag is in capital letter, it's still gonna work, but it is wrong because I am doing this video because I want people watching it to be a very good and a professional programmer, coder in HTML. So for this to happen, you just have to clear it off and make it in lowercase. This is the rightful one as a coder. So make sure your tags, your attribute like let's put the attribute like class attribute. This I should be, your class attribute should not be like this. It is very very wrong. It's very very wrong. Your class attribute should be like this. So I'm just gonna clear that out because that's not what we're gonna be doing today. So make sure your tags, your attributes are in lowercase, except from where it is needed, like I showed you, talk that HTML. So also when trying to rename files, for instance, now I'm just gonna come back and save as something else again. Just gonna save it as index.html. So I'm gonna choose all files this time around, and I'm gonna save this as capital letter index. So I'm gonna save it. Yeah, I'm gonna choose yes. So guys, I've replaced this with index.html. So it's still the same thing, but advisable not for you to save it that way. So I think we should come back and change it to a capital letter one. It's still changing it back to index.html in lowercase, but it is advisable for you not to save as index.html in uppercase. So guys, the next one I think which should be the last one I'm going to be talking about in this video is the indentation and blank space.